We'll jump right in. So welcome to today's session on problem solving. We'll really cover some of the quick, useful tools that really help accelerate solving problems. So we're going to cover the kind of cause and effects, identifying root causes, generating solutions, and then how you prioritize and consolidate down those solution ideas into something that you can implement. So again, we have a full agenda to get through today. So we're going to jump pretty much straight right in. So let me present, and I shall bring up the presentation just for a moment. So cause and effect. Let's see if I can present. Just stopping. So cause and effect, often misunderstood, especially in business, or if you're doing projects or you're doing anything that is really trying to solve problems, make improvements. Often the business ends up working on trying to solve the effect of something rather than really taking the time to think about, well, what's causing that effect. So for example, in finance, they may talk about reconciliations. How can they improve reconciliations? Well, reconciliations is just an effect of something that's causing the information to be broken or not comparable, or data that is defective. So often they'll try and improve a reconciliations process without going back to the cause to say, well, why do we have to do these reconciliations anyway? So understanding cause and effect and trying to trace back to the root causes of the problems is actually a really important step. However, it often gets missed in business when they're trying to make improvements. And that's why we're going to focus on that as a starting point with just a couple of very simple, easy to use tools before we go into defining the solutions. So why not let's work on a real problem. So we're going to use our Klaxoon again. So let me just bring up the Klaxoon. Let me copy paste the information into Teams. It's exactly the same Klaxoon as we've been using all the way along. Let me see if I can put the information in. Coming your way. So if you want to go right ahead and join the Klaxoon, we'll jump in to do some problem solving. Let me know when you're in the Klaxoon again. Then we'll get started. Give you a moment to join the Klaxoon. Let me know when you're there.
Just a second, it always takes me some time to.
It's okay. Make your way to the welcome part in the center of the whiteboard.
Just a second, Mark. Okay? I'm adding my email, right? My Force IR.
You shouldn't need to. If you just press the little X button, if you've had that pop up with your email, that just means it's recognized you from a previous login. But normally, if you just press the X button, you should then be taken back to the participation code screen.
Okay, just bear with me. Bear with me because I think something crashed for me. Just a second.
Okay, I'm in with another name because they didn't accept Isabella.
Yeah, funny.
But okay, I mean.
It's because I had the same problem. It's because if you've already logged in before as Isabella and it doesn't recognize you as the same person, it thinks there's going to be two people called Isabella, so it asks you for a new one, which I just put Jamie 1.
I'm asking for my email for the first time as well.
Looks like everybody's having some issues, not only me. Okay.
How you getting
I
on?
think I'm, Mark, I think I'm in, but it's the session from before. Is that correct? I mean,
That's exactly, it is the same session as before.
okay, so I'm in. Yeah.
How did you complete account information or?
No, you
Honestly,
should be able to exit.
I had the link saved, bookmarked. Yeah.
Oh,
So just go to the previous one like before.
can somebody send it? I'm sorry.
Yeah, sure. Let me put it in
I'll-
the chat
I'll
again.
I'll send it to you on Slack, Sarah.
No, I don't have Slack on PC, just phone.
Okay.
Oh God, sorry.
It's okay. Try again.
Just go ahead, I'll jump in.
Here we go. Let me copy and try this one more time. If not, we'll jump in, and you can always shout out, and I will add it to the board for you. Okay. So very good. Then if you move down from the little welcome area, you'll see our little problem solving introduction there. Let's see if we can work on a real problem. So a work problem, be it, not necessarily a personal problem, can't solve everything in a 1 hour workshop. But let's have a quick brainstorm, throw a few post-it notes down there on a work problem that potentially we can work on together. It could be anything, a project challenge that you're having at the moment. It could be a programming challenge you're having, or some research that you're having a challenge with. Could be anything. Let's just brainstorm a load of problems. Then we'll take a look and see if there are one or two that we might want to collectively work on. So go ahead and add some post-it notes. You can add the post-it notes by clicking the little plus button there at the bottom of the screen. Go for it. I'll give you a quick 4 minutes. Brainstorm all of the work problems that you might have. Sarah, have you managed to make it onto the Klaxoon yet?
Yeah, I mean,
Fantastic. Good. Go for it. What problems can we work on?
But I mean, work in general or work between, in this session?
Yeah, just work in general. So if you have any challenges in your project, for example, go and put the problems on the board, and any kind of work-related problems that you might have that we can try and solve. Go for it. Good, keep them coming. Got some nice ones coming up. Coming. That's it, another 2 minutes. Good. Keep it coming. Maybe 1 more minute. Go for it as you're doing well. Let's get a few more problems on the board. Good. Let's give it another 30 seconds. Any more problems to work on? Give it 10 more seconds. Okay, let's take a look at what we've got. So we've got things like expectations, everything priority, tight deadlines, unproductive brainstorming, following process steps and track progress, communication between teams, overwhelmed by many different projects in progress, communication obstacles, lack of ownership, bad management, lack of resources, losing focus because of details. Some real genuine challenges. Could be any project, any piece of work that you might be doing. How would you normally go about solving problems like these? What is your kind of natural way of solving problems like these?
Therapy.
Therapy, yeah, or alcohol. That's usual I go to.
Yeah, apart from therapy, maybe sports.
For relaxation.
Yeah.
I
No,
mean,
but
trying to. Oh, sorry.
go ahead. Sorry.
Trying to make communication with persons I'm the closest with as good as possible, and get my concerns across and my point of view. And I've been trying to do that even more since these workshops. I'm closely communicating with Maya mostly. So I'm trying to make our process as best as possible and then work on other teams and other people that are involved. So step by step, I guess.
Fantastic. So, communication, try and be clear about the process, take it step by step. Absolutely. Very good. Any other input?
I think, sorry.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Isabella. Yeah.
Sorry, Maya. Okay.
No, it's okay. Yeah.
Right. Okay. So I still, at least this is what I'm facing in the project I'm working on. I use between brackets because I mean it's incorrect to say bad management when I was never a manager. But I do believe that the problem sometimes sits with who actually is the decision maker, because sometimes people can, for example, once you commit to something in a contract and you have to deliver, you need to be able to guarantee that your resources will be able to deliver everything that you signed up. And this is the biggest challenge that I'm facing on a daily basis. And I do think that lots of it sits with the management. But secondly, I also completely agree with Sarah that it's what we discussed last week. Communication is the biggest problem on earth. I mean, you always take for granted that people will understand your message, but actually what you want to say and what they receive is always a gap. And I've been noticing that during my week as well.
Yeah, very good. And linked to then the expectations. Expectations are also always linked to deadlines, right? There's always a time element to expectations. And yeah, it's a big challenge. I mean, that's a whole other training just in itself around expectation management, but it's a good one. It's a good problem to try and solve. Who else? Was it Maya? Were you also?
Yeah, I was going to say, sometimes I find it difficult to say no to certain things. Like I will say yes to every request and to all the projects, and then I find myself in a problem of handling and completing all because it's overwhelming. So I think I'm learning at this point how to say no sometimes. Not really say no, but kind of explain, for example, to management what should be a priority, and just so everything can be finalized. You know, that's why I added, you know, the everything is a priority attitude, which, you know, it's sometimes it's difficult to balance it out.
Very, very much. You know, I think learning how to say no is a lifelong challenge.
Yeah.
For those, for those
Yeah.
people that really are committed to trying their best. Not everybody's in that same situation, but you know, for the likes of you that are hugely talented individuals, I'm sure you're all driven to try and deliver your best, and therefore saying no is actually really, really difficult, right? And then you get more and more work because you're good, because people then keep giving you more and more work. And then suddenly you've got so much work. How do you prioritize? Because you can't do everything. That's the same for individuals as it is for projects. And we'll actually cover that in a bit more detail in the next training when we talk about in one of the next trainings where we talk about organizational and planning skills. So we'll hit on that very specifically. Very good. Okay, then let's do a quick vote on which problems we want to work on. To vote, it's very simple. Double click or give one click on the post-it note and you'll see a little heart icon that pops up. Just go ahead and click the heart icon and it will give it your vote. So go ahead, take 3 votes each and go and vote for your favorite problem that you would like to work on. So just click on the post-it note, click on the heart for the problem you would like us to work on collectively now. Give you another 60 seconds. Okay, put your last votes in. Let's see what we've got. Okay, let's take a look then. So we've got 4 with a 2 rating. What we could do is merge Overwhelm with so many different projects with the priority challenge. And then you've got communication obstacles, now has 3 votes. Somebody's cast their last vote, which means communication obstacles wins the day as our choice for trying to solve the problem. Here, let's take communication obstacles in the context of project deliverables. So let's bring it into that context of communication obstacles to get project deliverables done. Does that make sense for everybody?
Yep.
Very good. So if you want to follow the arrow down to the left-hand side, we're going to use our first root cause finding approach. So if we take communication obstacles in context of getting project deliverables done, then that gives us our problem statement. So we'll take that as the problem statement. And now we're going to do a simple thing called the 5 whys. You're all way too young to have children. I have 2 children. At the age of 5, children go through a certain stage where they ask why about everything. Why do the wheels make a noise on the road? I've had. Why does the heating system go ping? And the best one, was why did Jesus die on the cross? Which one I said, ask your mum for that one. So children naturally learn at a certain time to ask why about everything. It's odd in business, though, we very rarely ask the question why. Why are we doing a piece of work? Why is even the business even in existence? Why are we doing the project? Just the same for trying to track down a root cause. And the secret is very simple. Ask why 5 times. By the time you've asked why 5 times, you should have got down to the lowest level of root cause. So we're going to do that right now. So be ready to shout out the answers. I'll put the answers into Klaxoon for you as we go. So communication obstacles in delivering project deliverables. Why are there communication obstacles that are stopping you getting the work done?
Should we enter or say?
No, just speak out. Speak out. I'll throw the answers in.
Well, for me, we have a big team and we have very different people doing very different things. And oftentimes I'm not even familiar with the bigger picture. Just a part of the project comes to me and I get a specific task, but I'm not aware of the other things that are happening, the bigger picture. What is the development team working on? Why are we doing this? Who is paying us? Things that I feel are important for me to do my job best as I can.
Good, good. Any other whys that people might have?
I would agree with Sarah. I have the same why. Yeah. Understanding the bigger picture.
Good. Any other input? Why are the communication obstacles? Good. Okay. Well, that's already some input. So then let's go to the second level of why. Why is there a big team? Sounds odd, but it's a good question to ask. Why is the team so big?
I feel like it's not that big. Like our team's quite small, like in the grand scale of things compared to some other companies.
Yeah, exactly. But I thought more as of scattered, not in a
Yeah.
place, different continents.
Yeah, and then
Okay,
there's
so
like
also
time zone
spread out.
difference. There's like which means there's a time zone difference because there's people in different continents.
Yeah, and like information is also like lagging, jet lag oftentimes between those different people and teams. It's not big; it's just divided in a way that because it's a small team, 1 or 2 people are doing things like data science or development, and if you don't talk to each one of them individually, you don't have an idea what's going on.
Very good. Let's following this one down then for the moment. So so why are we spread out across the world?
Because of COVID. I'm joking, but I mean, it's easier to have projects with people in many parts of the world right now than it used to be, I think. Everybody's more used to doing that.
I think it's cost related, honestly.
Right, there's ah, yeah, definitely cost related. Then why a time zone? Maybe that kind of covers it for the cost related in place. Let's pick up on why don't we know what everybody is doing?
Because we have a limited time to talk to each other, and like, because we're not in the same office, we're all quite kind of spread out. Like, like 5 minutes to chat about what we're doing probably isn't enough to have a full understanding of what everyone else is up
I
to.
agree. I agree. But I mean, if I may, I also think that human beings are a bit selfish sometimes, and we only take care of our piece. And I mean, I don't know if that also makes things a little bit more difficult. I mean, we tend to focus on what is ours, like under our responsibility.
Yeah, and I would say it takes only one person to understand how it is possible to communicate, you know, and kind of like implement that communication structure that's going to be really useful for everybody. You know, just one person. If nobody has a feeling for, you know, how to structure the communication in the team, then, you know, communication is going to be disrupted. I don't know if I explained that right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree completely, because I had when Peter was in a team, for example, we had weekly calls with the whole team, and we talked about once weekly what are the projects coming up, what are the events coming up, and somehow it was like 1 hour or half an hour, but we were always up to date on what was happening because he was aware of most of the things. So
Yeah.
So now you're brilliantly moving into solutions. And that is only natural, of course, because as you start to drill down into the problems, naturally your brain starts thinking about solutions. One of the tricks to facilitating this, though, is to try and, as best as possible, to park solutions for now, not stop them coming. So you'll see I took a note of the solution, but I just pushed it off to the side. So when you're doing a project and people start thinking of solutions, capture them, but try and bring them back still to get to the root cause of the problem. Because the deeper you go, the better the solutions you'll get eventually when we get to it. So you're doing a really good job on that. Let's finish the thread drilling down on the why. So let's pick up on the have limited time to talk. Why do we have limited time to talk?
Because right now, with technology, we want to be in all places at the same time. So we all have fully booked agendas the whole day. And we just want to do everything. Yeah. I mean, we are in calls, and then we read emails, and then we answer to chats, or yeah, that's COVID life.
I often don't know who to talk to for the bigger picture.
Yeah.
Great. And then let's just pick up on this natural to focus on our own work. Why is it natural to focus on our own work?
Well, it's easier if you get a specific task and you do only that. I guess that's your responsibility, and you are not responsible for anything you didn't know.
Very good. That's a really good one. We're also usually driven by compensation to deliver our personal goals, right? And because it is our responsibility, which then counteracts working together as a team. Yeah, so it's good, brilliant input. So let's just pick up on then a couple more. Don't always know who to talk to. Why? Why do we not know who to talk to?
I guess
Maybe
know what
I'm
everyone's doing.
sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Sorry.
Maybe because we don't know who does what. Maybe that's why. And then we don't know who to talk to. Maybe each person's responsibilities are not so transparent. Maybe we don't have information who does what, just from a first impression.
Very good. Now you're really getting to the end of that thread, right? You know, if you start asking questions on, okay, why don't we have transparency? You're kind of then starting to go back in a loop to the second why here. Don't know what everyone's doing. So you know that you've reached one of the bottom root causes. See how that works? We started with big team and we've worked our way pretty much to the bottom of that root cause. Can't go much further with that one. See how the idea works? Jamie, you had some input, I think.
You know, I was saying the same thing.
Good. Let's pick up then on last one to talk about then. Why is everybody's agendas blocked or full?
I think because, as I said, I misspoke of, about calling us big team. We are a small team, and I think one of the reasons we don't have transparency of who does what is that we often take many different roles in the company, and that is decided once the project comes in. People jump in, take different roles as it is expected from a startup, and I think that's why our agendas are filled and we don't know always who is doing what for each project.
Very good. I added another level there because as you were explaining that, also getting down to, you know, what are the expectations and the deliverables were required, and is that expectation set too high? So that's great. So you can see how the 5 whys work. Now, of course, we could take more time on that and really drill down into each of these, which is what you would do in a project or a workshop. You'd normally take, you know, an hour to 90 minutes to do that kind of brainstorming. But I'm hoping you get a feel for how it works, though, and how it does genuinely start to get you down to some of the real root causes that then you can generate solutions on. Reactions to that feedback? Oh, someone was breaking up there. I didn't quite hear what was said.
I think it's Jamie. He had some trouble yesterday as well.
I didn't say anything.
Oh, sorry.
a bit of background. So that's a really useful tool. It isn't used enough, but it's a very quick, efficient way to try and get down to some of the real root causes. So we'll come back to that in a little bit. Now we're going to move to the right and we're going to work on our second tool. We'll do this very quickly because you've actually come across this before. This is Ishikawa or fishbone diagram. Again, back in the 50s and 60s, a Japanese industrialist called Ishikawa, one of the quality assurance gurus, came up with a method for identifying, in simple terms, root causes of problems. And it's also a very good way that you can consolidate a lot of information down, and or you can use it for solutions, generating solutions as well. But we're going to use it in the problem-solving context. So I put our problem statement at the head of the fishbone diagram. We're going to take, again, 4 minutes, quick brainstorm. Think a bit along the lines of the bones of the fish, where we've got, what are the problems with any of the methods we might have? Okay, any machinery, so this could be teams in terms of communication, right? Any of the materials, the environment, the resources, or the way that we're managing our communications. So I'll put 4 minutes on the clock. Go for it. And as many ideas in terms of root causes we're looking for, why we're having communication obstacles. And of course, we've already done the 5 whys, so you can start by adding a few of the root causes from the 5 whys. Go for it. Quick 4-minute brainstorm. Go and populate the fishbone diagram. That's it. Go ahead. Keep adding. So keep bringing them in. What are all of your problems, root causes around communication obstacles? Another 2.5 minutes. Let's populate as much as we can. That's it, 2 more minutes, keep adding. That's it, another 1.5 minutes, keep it coming. Doing well, some really good input. That's it, give you 30 more seconds. So let's see what other problems we can get on there, root causes. Okay, 15 more seconds, last input. Okay, let's take a look then. So you've got some really good input. You've got things around methods, emails instead of calling, Teams, Azure, Trello. There isn't a platform for tracking the projects. It's good input. Big picture skipped over, management not found, project management lacking, virtual work in terms of the environment. Yet that does make it more difficult to communicate. Everything is more formal, not being able to meet in person, teams not in touch with each other, expectation gap between expected and delivered, delay in technical problems, many tracking tools for projects, long emails we've covered. Very good. So a really useful, quick tool for identifying, root causes towards the problem. Reactions to that, feedback, what do you think? You've used fishbone diagram a couple of times now.
Sorry?
Yeah, feedback, reactions, making sense.
Yeah. Are these bones always the same, or do they change depending on what's talked about?
Yeah, you can change the bones of the fish depending on the topic. Often, if it's a really open topic that I'm starting with, I'll just leave the bones blank and then group things together in affinity and then name a particular group or bone. But this is kind of a standard that tends to be quite useful to get people to think about the different aspects. Absolutely. So moving on then with a rapid pace, just going to flick back quickly to the presentation and talk about, once we've kind of identified our root causes and we've done some work to identify what we think is the vital few of root causes. You can imagine that during the problem identification phase, if you like, first of all, we try and expand the amount of root causes we can think of, and then we narrow it down. And then when we come into the solution generation phase, again, we try and blow up as many ideas as possible. Once we have as many ideas as possible, we try and consolidate them down to the few that we can actually implement and get good results from. So this is a kind of process where you try and capture as much information as possible, consolidate it down, capture as many ideas as possible, consolidate them down again so that you can effectively implement them. So, of course, there are many good ways of brainstorming solutions. So that's exactly what we're going to do. And then we're going to use a simple process of consolidating them down using combine, delete, add, modify, which is a simple way of bringing those ideas together. So you're going to take a quick 3 minutes with all of those root causes that we've just thought about. How can we solve those root causes? You've already come up with one good idea, which is have one person that kind of coordinates that overview. So go for it. I'll give you 2.5 minutes. See if you can come with as many real solutions as you possibly can think of. So really go for it. We might use some of these real solutions. So I'll give you 2.5 minutes. Go for it. As many solution ideas as physically possible. Go on, lots of ideas. Got 2.5 minutes. Let's see if we can solve some of the root causes of these problems in real life for you. That's it, keep them coming. Some great ideas coming in. Very good, keep them coming. That's it, 1.5 minutes, go for it. As many ideas as you can. One more minute. Come on, you're super bright people. I'm sure we can get a few more ideas. Is it 30 more seconds? That's it, 6 more seconds. Get your last ideas on there. There we go. Good, already a good set of ideas. Good set of ideas. Now we're going to go through a quick process. Now you can see I already started to group some of the processes, some of the post-it notes. So already started to group some of the post-it notes together. Now we're going to go for a very quick process of combine, delete, add, modify. So what I'd like you to do is say for the post-it notes that I've already put together is to combine them. So if we take these two, for example, know who is responsible for what and take time to understand what everybody actually does. So we can combine that into one solution. So we say take some time to understand responsibilities and who's working on what. So that's the simple combination of the idea. If we look at only take one person to coordinate and organize a weekly, daily quick catch-up call, again, we can combine that into one solution. Nominate lead to set up regular call for quick catch-up. See how it's working? But then as we combine, then it becomes a more tangible action. Now, often when you really have a lot of post-it notes, 100 post-it notes plus or so, then you might go through and delete duplications. You don't really have any duplications on here, but on some other brainstormings, we had duplications, so then you would delete it. Now we take a moment to go add. As we've just talked through those, are there any additional solutions that you might want to add? Anything else to add? Prime any additional solution ideas? All quiet. Okay, then we'll move on to modify. So modify is not the same as combine. So as you go through the process, and if we have many different ideas, we may want to modify them. So let's take this one, be open for feedbacks. So that's a good statement, but it's not necessarily a solution, but it is a good statement. How might we modify that to be a tangible solution? Thoughts? How could you modify this one into a tangible solution?
The feedback one?
Yeah, be open for feedbacks. How might you turn that to a real tangible solution?
That depends on each person. I mean, maybe implementing a culture in the company of actually being more open and accepting feedbacks from colleagues.
Excellent. So that then turns it into a real action or solution that you can take, right? And that's the art then of modifying, because often you'll get, team building is another good one. Great team building, great statement. How do you modify that to then become a tangible solution. Well, the modification might be assign somebody to set up a session where you do a bit of team building. Then it becomes a solution. See the thought process behind it?
Yeah.
Then last step for us to do before we wrap up then is prioritization. So I'm just going to take a couple of these across to the prioritization matrix. So we have a few solutions here that we can copy over. Now, what I want you to do collectively now, we'll jump into the klaxoon. I've got 5 solutions that I'm looking to implement. Now rate them and move the post-it note around how easy it is to do or difficult. So if it's difficult, it's up here. If it's easy, it's down there. And then how much impact or how important will that solution be? If it won't give much impact, it's down here. If it will give very high impact, then it's over on the right-hand side. Go for it. A quick 60 seconds. Move the post-it notes around. You can compete to move the post-it notes. Move them around the prioritization matrix. Go for it. Give you 60 seconds. That's it, another 40 seconds. Move the post-it notes around until you're happy with the placement of them. 20 seconds. 10. Everybody seems happy with the prioritization. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. Okay, so that's our prioritization. And by the way, you can do it just as quick in a workshop, in a project workshop, or as part of project planning as we've just done it. Often people will overthink the prioritization if you give them too long to think about it. Often just doing a very quick prioritization is just as good as then taking another hour to detail the prioritization. So up in the right hand corner, you've got some high impact solutions, but also not so easy. So maybe putting a coach in place is not so easy. Finding the time is not so easy, but that will give you some good benefits. Down here, though, you've got some easier things that can be done, like tracking the projects process in a simple way in one place. That can give you huge benefits. So that might be your priority number 1 activity. And you can do that on Teams, by the way, using the Teams planner. Different work streams to actually work together. Great opportunity for team building as well, built into that. So in summary, that was kind of a masterclass, a quick masterclass in problem solving with a few very effective tools on how you can drill down to the root causes. From the root causes, then brainstorm and consolidate very quickly solution ideas, and then prioritize them to implement what's critical to implement. And that really is at the heart of problem solving. Now, this process that we've just gone through is built into Agile. It's built into something called Kaizen, which is kind of rapid improvement events. And it's also built into hackathons as well, even when your hackathons is normally related to IT programming, coming up with software solutions. Exactly the same process, though, for preparing then your coding to be built as part of the hackathon. So with that, a couple of minutes for any questions, reactions. Did that work for you? How did that run for you?
The only thing that I mean, it's interesting what I saw, but I mean, from that to actually implement, I mean, writing it down, identifying the problem to actually make a change in the project for this to happen, that's where the problem lives, right?
Exactly, which might be then another problem to go on and work on, right? Absolutely.
It's a little bit high level and difficult to actually put in practice. So
Yeah. Yeah, and of course, you know, we've only spent kind of 45 minutes trying to define solutions. Normally, you'd take a good half day to do just that.
yeah.
Good. Any other feedback, thoughts, reactions?
I'm thinking about the platform for tracking projects. I think it's also important to stick with what we choose. We use Teams and we are still using Teams, but I'm thinking for myself, I haven't updated in a couple of weeks what I'm working on. So I'm going to do that.
Very good. And discipline is one of the biggest challenges in any large projects or programs that you're working. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's I would say not so much a discipline. I think it's consistency, maybe.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Agree. Absolutely agree. Very good. So we're at time again. Thank you so much for joining me on a Friday. I hope that's been another useful set of tools for you to apply in your projects, in your organization. Thank you very much for joining me, and have the most fantastic weekend.
Thank you, Mark.
Thank you, Mark.
Bye, everybody.
Have a
Thank you.
great weekend, everybody.
Thanks. Weekend.
Bye.